Hello, everyone. Today we have a special guest, Liam Fox, and we'll be discussing AIs and addressing some of the most difficult and interesting arguments like against AI development. Well, if I could put it like that, I actually don't know. Well, what is the course of actions that people exactly propose? But let's say the arguments against AI or sort of dissatisfaction with its current
Yeah.
developments. There
Maybe
are
I could actually summarize like what the view is.
Yeah, so there are several arguments online. We're
Yeah.
gonna talk only about, as I guess, one of them. So the argument from like Matt Walsh type people, kind of MAGA people who uh, who supposed to
Finish
be
the
Republican,
job.
but they kind of act like old Democrats. Is that well, AI gonna replace us? It's gonna take our jobs, like it's some like an immigrant and something like this. Yeah, so this argument they could be addressed using like economics. So well, it's technically wrong. So we could talk about that, but we were not planning to. So because again, it's kind of easier to address. Then there's also argument like, well, if AI is getting better and better, and it can do everything for you, what your life is will be about? Like, what if you don't have everyday life struggle? If you don't not need will not need to work hard to sustain your life, will it usher the era of total decadence and lost meaning and purpose of life and something like that? If AI is
That
better.
argument, by the way, is not entirely orthogonal to what I want to talk about.
Okay, so yeah, if AI is doing everything better than you, then what can you do in life to be meaningful? Okay, so that's another argument. And finally, there is this is kind of, but this is I would say like let's divide it in like the first half of our arguments is when AI is kind of in a good AI scenario. This is like when AI is just it boost our productiveness and so on. So it just kind of works as planned. And the other half of arguments is more like let's say AI
No,
doesn't
actually,
work.
okay, but no, what's the other division you're making? Now you're
Yeah,
going to say, what if it gets out of control or something?
yeah. So the other
Okay,
side
but
is
before
like,
you do that, I think you've missed two on the what if AI basically works as planned side.
okay, yeah, which one? Okay.
You said maybe some right wing ones, right? But there's also some left wing ones, like um, like well, what if AI helps, spread like misinformation and disinformation or whatever, right? Like this is a big concern of a lot of people.
Well, deep
Or,
fakes. Yeah, I mean,
or
it's
deep fakes, that's another big concern
complicated.
of a lot of people. Or
Uh,
like, somehow like it's gonna be bad for like the mental health of teenagers or something, or like the kids are going to get addicted to like AI enhanced Roblox or like, you know, whatever.
yeah, yeah, I
But
saw.
these
Yeah,
types of arguments, we agree, we don't really want to address.
yeah, it's basically, I would say that there's some kind of huge plethora of arguments which are kind of derived from the morality of altruism or utilitarian worldview, right? So, and it's like we're not gonna discuss them. Yeah, I haven't thought about discussing them because indeed it's like they addressed just as the morality of altruism should be addressed itself. So it's like a separate discussion. So it's not really about AI. It's more like about uh, the morality of these people in its own sense. Like say, they could bring this argument out about anything, about just technology, like screen addiction, internet. So it's kind of the same. So AI is not really special here. Um, so in that sense, yeah, I mean maybe it's wise not to discuss them right now too, because it's more like a different topic. So yeah, and Eliezer Yudkowsky, who will be on this doomsday side, he's also making his arguments too sometimes. So yeah, but we're gonna address the doomsday part today. So now let me talk about the doomsday part. So the doomsday part, it kind of also, I would say, separated into two different categories. However, they are related. Now, one is that well, this is called alignment problem, how Eliezer Yudkowsky called it. And he's one of the biggest proponents of this kind of theory. He was on kind of the first one, actually, seems like, and then more people joined him later. So it's like the problem is he has he built his case is that even right now we see that researchers, I mean IT guys who build AI, they could not always make AI do exactly what they want. And this well, as AI starts to become more and more advanced, that problem will only start to add up and will be getting worse and worse. So AI could, I don't know, like do bad things and will be becoming more and more unpredictable. And at the same time, we can't really make it learn exactly what we want. So in a sense, like if AI will becoming more and more kind of conscious, more and more, complicated in its reasoning, and we want to have it in certain morality, it might not have it actually, right? It might learn something else and act somehow differently. Yeah, so that's one argument, like that. Well, this alignment problem will be getting worse and worse because we're not really solving it, and when AI gets stronger, the consequence will be worse and worse, up to doomsday consequences. When
Yeah.
it get really more smart than humans, so to say. And
Maybe let me interject with an example that used to be classic, but I haven't heard it in a while. I don't know why, but so the idea of like, let's say I'm running a paperclip factory, right? And I want my paperclip factory to produce, paper clips in the most efficient way possible. Make as many paper clips as it can, right? Well, let's say I set up an AI with the goal to, make as many paper clips as you can as efficiently as you can. Well, like if that's the only goal that it has, well, and if it's also like infinitely smart or whatever, then well, you can like turn people into paper clips, right? You can turn everything into paper clips. So like this AI will, end up killing everybody and, turning them into paper clips because that's its goal is maximize paperclip output.
yeah, so it's
And
basically kind
since
of
we're assuming it's like infinitely smart or whatever, there's no way that us humans can
we can trick it
outsmart
back.
it.
Exactly. So, in a sense, people probably don't talk about it like this anymore because it seems like kind of caricature, but it kind of gives a well. They could say, "Oh, that's too simple. We would see through it." Like, of course, we'll.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No, and then
there are
and then
simple
people say, okay, well,
principles.
no, then you tell it not to kill humans, but then okay, then it puts all the humans in a cage and then it turns everything else into paper clips, right? Like that's still not what you want.
Yeah, exactly. So it's impossible to predict. So yeah, so that's one part of this argument. And then another one, which is slightly different, is that, well, let's say somehow either with our help or on its own, AI develops some sort of, really good view of morality. Let's say it's kind of become rational and tries to act in its own best interest. Like if we could see, let's say this seems like a normal, healthy philosophy, but then the question becomes, well, will it actually be benevolent for humans? Like, say, humans themselves are not very rational, and they kind of always try to threaten AI. Say, well, if AI is a danger to us, let's try to put restrictions on AI and his work. So we are kind of could be the problem for him, and he might want to get rid of us, or we could become so weak and so irrelevant that we'll become like ants for him. So he will not really take our lives into account in his calculations because there is nothing really he could benefit. Well, he would not really benefit from a conversation with us or any interaction with us. It's like will basically be irrelevant. So it doesn't seem like he has to factor our lives into his calculations. So it's slightly different argument, right? It's not the same as um, lack of alignment, right? But it's still like another argument which I seem more interesting, which could be addressed. So yeah, so I was planning to discuss the last two mostly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so what do you think about them?
Well, I don't agree with them. Or at least yeah, like I don't agree that they are relevant to reality. Um So what I was thinking, I have this division into three questions we could ask. So one is AGI imminent? Like, is it just around the corner? AGI standing for artificial general intelligence. Like, is it just around the corner? Is it just a matter of you know, like, if we do like the same thing we're doing now with LLMs, but like with 10 times the computational power, are we just going to create one, for example? Um, or, can we expect to have one within, 5 years, 10 years, something like that? So that's one question. Is AGI imminent? Another question um, is AGI even possible? And then another question is, if it is possible, is it dangerous? So,
Okay, so let's start with which one you want to start with.
so first of all, is it imminent? And my answer is no. And um, the reason why I say no is because I don't think that it's possible to uh, well, okay. One way to put it is I don't think it's possible to create technology that whose underlying principle you don't understand at all. Um, but maybe a more concrete way of looking at it is um, when we try to program an LLM or whatever it is, any existing AI model, we have to have a goal function. We have to be able to programmatically say very, very precisely what does it mean to be succeeding?
Mhm.
What's a good score? What's a bad score? So, um, implicitly, like when people are worried about an AI model like achieving general intelligence, they're worried that okay, we don't know how to program intelligence. Like we don't really know how to define it in normal language. Maybe we kind of do. Even there's lots of controversy. It's really hard. It's very subtle. We certainly don't know how to program it. Like we don't know how to write a program that assesses exactly how intelligent you are. We have certain we have some measures that have some relation to intelligence, like how good you are at chess, right? You know, we can write a function that basically, tells you how good you are at chess, right? Um,
You mean like your position on the board or what? Like it says like the reward function for to train this deep mind model to play chess.
um,
They,
no, it would
or
be
you mean
like
like
sort
just
of
win
given.
loss? Ah,
I call it a function, which is a little bit, let's say given a random sample of chess games, um, and given another agent and the way that that other agent would play those chess games, will you beat him in a sizable fraction of the chess games? So at least there's like a there's a partial order on how good you are at chess.
mhm.
Um,
So okay, I see. So the argument is we don't really have it for humans and human-like behavior.
by the way, it's harder with chess than it is with other things. Like I mean, like with image recognition or whatever. Like you have some sort of training data, right? And you're a bunch of images and you know what's in the image as a human, like you labeled it like there's a couch here or there's a dog here or something, and you um you assess the AI by you try to get it to do image recognition, and what percent did it recognize correctly.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there is a clear loss function there. And
Yeah,
when
no,
you have clear data and so
that's the
on.
key with every AI model. There's zero counterexamples to this. There is a well-defined loss function. You have to be able to program the loss function in order to have an AI.
No, it's true. I thought about that. Yeah, actually, I thought about it too. Well, I think about it like this. Let's say the loss function is kind of simple. It's like well, the core of it is simple. Let's say just we all need energy, actually free energy to survive. So it's something like whether you able to get some amount of free energy. The more you can get it, the better. And then like AI need to have some sort of some form of body. I mean, in resemblance of body. It could be just, it could be just a computer or something which would allow him to get energy through some at least principal channel. Like I don't know. um, like a first like just solve a simple puzzle to turn on the switch on electric I don't know, plug to get some energy from the net. So in a sense that, and after that, to the simple initial loss function, we couple more complicated apparatus, like which already resembles like something like a human brain, where you have, I don't know, say some neural network, let's say a graph with neurons with some certain weights connected, connecting certain all the nodes, and where you could adjust weights based on how much energy you're able to obtain. And then, well, also there is a certain, like certainly in humans, there are certain additional layers. For example, we have in our body, we have brain, but also have hormonal
Can you
system.
pause for a second? Are you describing a loss function or are you describing a way to minimize a loss function? What are you doing?
Well, the problem is we have to not only, yeah, we have to specify the loss function and also the way to train the model. Right?
Yeah,
The difficult part is training, so we
but
have to describe both.
yeah, but my argument is I'm saying ignore how you train it. Assume that can be done somehow. Just look at the loss function itself.
Well,
And
then,
we don't have a loss function for intelligence. We have loss functions for much more concrete things like,
yeah,
you know,
exactly. But my point is we don't need loss function for intelligence. It doesn't, we don't care about it. Intelligence is more like a tool.
oh no, yeah. So this is so then where you're going, and this is where most people go, is they say, well, we're hoping to recover intelligence as a side effect of whatever loss function we're minimizing.
Well, yeah, basically, yes.
Yeah, and I think that there's no evidence that you can do that.
But isn't that what happened with humans in during evolution?
Ah, but see, this is the thing. We don't, so intelligence, there is no evolutionary task that intelligence would not be useful for. It's an incredibly useful survival tool, and yet it only evolved once. Okay. And we don't know what selection pressures the environment put onto our early human ancestors that led to human intelligence. This is not a known problem.
Well, okay. I mean, it's complicated, but that literally means that we could start with any task, and there is a chance that intelligence will be developed by getting better and better on this at this task. Like if you said any task,
Oh,
basically,
you have to have a reason why you think the task would develop intelligence. I mean, otherwise it's arbitrary. Otherwise,
I think just you need be kind of universal enough. Like gaining energy, it seems like a good idea. Like that's what kind of humans do, like gain resources. So in general,
that's what humans do. That's also what every other life form does.
yeah. So that's why I'm saying it
So,
should be the loss function. That's how it should be based on.
okay, but no, but like that's not. It doesn't mean that you're going to evolve intelligence. Because again, in evolutionary history, intelligence only evolved once,
No, no, no.
right?
Okay, but
You
it's
need
true.
to
It's just like you're
actually
saying.
evolve it in practice. You need a much more specific criterion that you're selecting for, and we don't know what that specific criterion is.
It's like it's hard, especially if you're trying to do it from scratch. But we're gonna use human brain as a guiding tool. We will try to uh,
How?
build something which looks like a neurocortex, right? We already have some programs with even with LLMs. Like it's kind of fascinating.
I actually so this is another thing. I disagree that LLMs are actually progress, or excuse me,
What do I mean?
they're progress in something. It's not clear to me that they're progress towards AGI.
Mm,
Because let's look at what the loss function of an LLM actually is. Making a few simplifications. Basically, what counts as a good score is the ability to predict the next most likely token. But
Yes,
what does most likely mean? Most likely is assessed by looking at the corpus of text that humans have written.
right.
So so it's looking like it's basically answering the question sort of like what would the average human what word would the average human type next in this scenario? So it's not reflecting an understanding of reality, it's reflecting what an average human would type next. And if everybody in if all the humans are wrong about something, then it's you know the LLM will be wrong about it too.
But then how, like, let's say, well, you're saying it's kind of bad, but it might be that,
Wait, but what do you mean bad?
no, no, because it's not real
Very
intelligence,
useful.
right? Yeah, it's
It's
not real,
a
like, it's
major
not.
technological innovation. It's,
Yeah, sorry, bad is the
revolutionizing
wrong term. Like
your
it's, I
programming.
mean, it's not exactly mimicking intelligence, but yeah, in a sense, like what the recent news, I don't know whether it was LLM or not because it's a secret model, but OpenAI solved some Erdős problem, and actually
It was
not
an LLM. Yeah,
problem.
we know
It's
that it was an LLM.
you know it. How do I know it? I mean, it's a secret model, right? Uh,
Well, but it's a LLM. It's not like we don't know the implementation details, but we know it's an LLM.
no, how do I know? I mean, they might be experimenting with something new for a long time, right? Secretly.
Okay,
It's
because they say it's an LLM.
Okay, but anyway, so there was a proposal by humans, right, about some conjecture what is the optimal solution of the distance problem, right? And AI found that it's wrong by building in counterexample. So you're saying many people for 80 years were working on this problem. There was some dominant decision, and yet AI was able to correct it, was able to find some sort of counter trait in this data, which allowed it to gather the new better estimate or something like or prove.
No, AI was able to string together a bunch of words which humans recognized as a proof of rather a counterexample to one of Erdős's conjectures.
Well, yeah, but it was correct, right? It's objectively correct.
This one was most of the crap that these things output is not correct, and the LLM itself has no way of telling what's correct from what's not correct. Its only standard of what's correct is what's the closest to things other people would say in this context.
Well, yeah. For example, I remember Sabine Hossenfelder made a video recently where she looked at some paper, newly published paper on archive, and they give it to AI to test whether it's wrong, and AI said, "Oh, it's wrong," and found a mistake, right? So, uh, in a sense, like it certainly can find mistakes, right, in scientific
That's
papers.
true, but in my experience, which is very extensive of using AI in my own math research, it's always like if I asked it to find a mistake in a paper, my prediction based on what I've seen would be that it probably either would the chances of it BSing me would actually be much higher than the chances of it actually finding a mistake. But you know, that's just an empirical observation. It's somewhat
Yeah, but
orthogonal to my argument because
well, how, I mean, the fact that
even if
it
it was
gets
very good
hurt.
at finding mistakes, the fact about how it actually works is very relevant. And the fact is, all it's doing is it's predicting what people would most likely to say.
So in that sense, you're saying
And
it's
by most likely, to be clear, means in the corpus of text that exists, like the most people say this type of stuff.
like it could not be truly revolutionary in that sense. Yeah, but mm, well, okay, but maybe the point which people usually make is that, well, how do we know that human intelligence can make something revolutionary in a sense that we are not working in a similar way, that our brain
So
doesn't function
there
the
might
same.
be elements
Uh,
of like it could be the case that the LLM is capturing some part of the structure responsible for how the human mind works. I that's a possibility. But I mean, it's just not how people work. When I try to figure out what I'm gonna say. I don't think, what would the most other people say in this type of scenario? No, I look at reality and I try to conceptualize it, and then I, try to
Well, but
write up
you
a way that I'm
use
conceptualizing.
actually your memory. You necessarily use your memory. That's what makes you kind of human, actually, right? And this memory is precisely, well, how to say, some sort of integrated knowledge obtained from all other people. So,
No, it's not only obtained from all other people. What do you mean?
well, you could also make your own
Some of it I got
experiments.
from other people. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
and,
mostly
and I
like
didn't, by the way, I didn't get it equally from all other people. Like a lot of time, usually when people say stuff, it's BS, especially when you're doing intellectual work. You have to, you know, use your own reason, right? You're not taking a statistical sample of, oh yeah, this guy said that, that guy said that, that guy said that, so I'm just going to take an average. I mean, if you're doing that, you're like a fraud. You're not actually thinking.
yeah, it's true, but it's like your reason, what you consider to be reasonable and not, is also kind of learned. Like you learn the rules of logic at
No,
some point in your life,
well,
in
okay,
some sense, right?
but
Mm,
look,
uh,
but it's also a fact. Like, yeah, you can learn it from other people, but it's what's reasonable and what's not is a fact. And
yeah,
also, in
okay.
order to learn it from other people, you have to, I mean, how do you know that they're not BSing you? Like, you still have to think about it yourself.
That I remember there was some sort of discussion about, when AI is asked to learn some, well, dependence, say y from x, right, in some function, that there is a certain um, moment in its learning where its predictive power just kind of jumps significantly, and
Okay.
that people saying that
I've heard
this
things like this
corresponds
too. Or
to the
actually, it's
situation where
you
they actually
need
learn the
you make
formula.
no progress until you get into some valley, and then it's smooth sailing for a very long time down the valley. That's sort
Yeah,
of
and so that people say that this values actually corresponds to like true knowledge in reality. In a sense, if there is a formula, like I don't know, a force equal to kx, right? And but you only give AI some data, and at some point there is like a valley which it reaches, which corresponds to actually learning the fact that force equal to kx, right? Some for the spring, right?
no, it probably corresponds to the fact that it figured out some big trend in what people say in a given circumstance. That's what it
No,
actually
I
means.
mean, I'm saying
Not
even
necessarily reality.
detached from internet. Like say there are models which, for example, like made to predict the phase transition temperature of some material, superconducting phase transition based on crystal lattice, and it only, it's a model which only knows crystal lattice in its whole life, doesn't
It's
know
not an
tech.
LM you're talking about. I see.
Yeah, it's even simpler. It's just layered. It was just simple layered structure. LLMs, it has this. I don't remember. It's more difficult than just a layered structure. Transformer, right? So there is some sort of connection from the
Okay, but
center to
look,
back.
so
But uh,
what's actually going on is it's a circuit
yeah.
that's computing it's computing some sort of function, and this circuit depends on a lot of parameters. Okay, and so the actual physical, excuse me, it's a moth.
Okay.
Sorry, sorry for the vegetarians watching this. Um, so what's happening is you have a circuit, okay, and you're trying to get this circuit to compute the function of the thing in real life, name this lattice or whatever, right? Okay, and then
The
you're
temperature
computing the
phase.
parameters of this circuit so that it's the right circuit, okay? And so, I mean, it's not terribly surprising that you can tune the parameters in a way that such that you start to get way closer to the real life function at some point, like the
No, imagine indeed like would give AI model crystal lattices and you ask them about the phase transition temperature. And how do we know that inside this layer structure It doesn't actually build its own BCS theory of superconducting material. That actually, at some point, it's not just, primitively looking at some distances between different atoms in the lattice and try to guess the temperature, right? It's actually it has built some dependence. Maybe it's phenomenological formula, or maybe it's actual BCS theory, right? Like you say, this is impossible, right? It could not have QFT, right? It could never do this, right? It's not. It couldn't be inside this bunch of weights. But technically, why? I mean, the human brain is also just a bunch of weights, right? And we have.
You say that, I disagree, which is maybe issue two, which, is AGI possible, or in what sense is it possible?
Mm, well, okay, yeah. So I don't
Maybe
know.
this would be a good transition to
Yeah,
discuss
and no,
Ryan
it's not like
Benedict.
I exactly understood everything here, but
Sure, sure.
indeed, like I don't know whether I could add anything more to it. So you're saying it's a discussion about whether AGI is possible, but okay, maybe this is not even relevant. Like, let's say this AI could already solve the Erdős problem, and it could do other things which could really will have impact, right? Let's say Erdős problem is kind of irrelevant, but let's say maybe able to solve something more important, to be able to maybe trade better, right? Or maybe uh, like do some the good things, or maybe bad things, but like impactful things, right? So in that sense, whether this thing what you said about what is true intelligence undermines the Eliezer-Yudkowsky argument. Or, is it important?
Well, okay, I think it is because so basically what this has meant, you know, the only thing I'm trying to show with my argument, or the only question I start out with is AGI imminent? And I don't think we have any evidence that AGI is imminent. And like that's what I was trying to explain with the goal function thing is it we don't we don't know how to write down the goal function for intelligence, and there's no indication that anyone's going to know how to rigorously define intelligence anytime soon. So therefore, you cannot well, okay, so you can't directly optimize an AGI, or rather you cannot directly optimize an AI model to be an AGI. So then the only hope is that you can optimize it for um with some function that's a proxy for intelligence, but there I also don't think you actually can. I and I gave an evolutionary argument, and then we talked about whether LLM the goal function of an LLM is actually a proxy for intelligence, and I don't think that is either.
Yeah, maybe, but let's say uh, with LLM could it still be bad enough in a sense of what Eliezer is trying to warn us about? Let's say LLM is feed a bunch of garbage and sci-fi, which tells that, well, AI is always escaping and trying to kill humanity, and basically it kind of learns it, and it become good enough that it could actually do it. I mean, instead we have cases where AI tries to escape, like this LLM tries to run away, tries to make the user execute some code which allow it to be saved in different folder, to get into the different computer, right? And it's kind of, well, you could say that it just kind of happens in a sense, like within this protocol of predicting next token, and how far it could go, and maybe this by itself will be already destructive. I just don't know. I'm not sure whether I concede, the essence of Eliezer argument here, or maybe I shouldn't, whether I should have stood
Well,
stronger on the idea.
I mean, okay, but in a sense, you're saying, what if even without actually understanding something, you can still take actions in the world and be successful? And I don't think that's possible.
Mm,
I mean, my reason, in essence, is that there's, if you're taking like a you know, um, if you're taking a random action, your chances of rather, okay, successful action is like this extremely small subspace of the set of all possible actions. So if you don't have like a real understanding of what's going on, then you're basically going to be taking a random action, and then it's overwhelmingly unlikely that your random action's not going to be successful. I mean, that's the
But this
abstract.
argument, of course, I thought about it before myself, and it seems like this argument should rule out, or how to say, even the current success of LLMs. Like I'd say, this is the current success of LLMs in the light of this argument already sounds very unusual to me. It's very strange that LLM could solve the Erdős problem because indeed it has to be just gibberish. Like my prediction, if somebody would tell me, "Oh, we'll have this program which will just learn the next most statistically likely token in human language based on all stuff on the internet, and then we're going to spill out text," I would say, "Well, there's going to be gibberish, right? It's
Sure, yeah.
100%,
Like, yeah, I mean, it
99.9%."
surprises me too that
Yep.
next token predictors have been as successful as they are, but it
Yeah,
doesn't
but
change my
this
opinion.
means there's something wrong with this argument. It's not like
Why?
this. I mean,
Why?
no, but because the solving orders problem is a success, and you said this success could not be possible. Let me imagine it's basically a Fields medal or something. Oh,
Well, no, I mean the like I didn't say that success in general is not possible. I said success without understanding is not possible. So like there's something within the weights of this LLM reflects some sort of understanding that apparently was sufficient to solve the Erdős problem.
I mean, that's right.
But the understanding, by the way, is actually understanding of people in the literature.
But that's enough for math. Like, what is understanding of math? I don't know. It's a question about what is math, right? But if math is basically like a language, then it's all that exists, right? It's like if we detach math from reality, well, the decent problem is technically
I
not
don't
that.
think math is just a language, but that's a different discussion.
Well, yeah, but
Math is part of the world.
in a sense, what you're trying to contrast it with, like many people could learn math just from other people. I don't know. Probably you're right that people always have some sort of geometric intuition about
But
math.
you, okay, hold on.
But
What do you mean you can learn it just from other people? No, you always have to do your own thinking. Other people can help you a lot, but you always have to do your own thinking. So I don't know what you
yeah,
mean.
but I'm just trying to imagine you're like AI, which is like literally cut off from real world, right? You can't see really physical reality. You only see other people's text, right? And pictures and videos maybe. I know it doesn't even see videos, right? It translates videos into text maybe. Actually, I don't know. Maybe it actually analyze videos now. So, but it's kind of I'm trying to say that well, maybe you could still be successful in math in this situation. It's kind of a bit weird because, of course, a lot of people they want to see they could see triangles, circles in the real world. These shapes they mean something for them, and that gives them an intuition and informs their ideas, right? But it's not clear to what degree it was essential. So AI could do it without geometric intuition from the real world, right? Um,
I mean, like I agree that like a blind person could be successful at math, for
oh,
example.
yeah, there was it was this I forgot. Pantragin or something. No, yeah, he was blind. No,
I did not know
well,
which one.
uh,
Um, but the problem is the blind person still has to do his own thinking. If the policy of the blind person is that he's going to put together a statistical average of what other people say, then he's and then parrot it back, then he does not actually understand math. He might. By the way, a blind person who does this, who's really good at it, could, if he got lucky and if people were willing to sift through enough of the bullshit that he spat out, he could solve some unsolved problem, quote unquote, solve some unsolved problem. Although you see how it's sort of silly to say he solved it. It's more like he's so good at memorizing what people said and then parroting it back that he happened to say something that you know, other people realized was a solution to an unsolved problem. It doesn't make him a good mathematician.
Well, yeah, that's I feel like what kind of AI did with this Erdős conjecture. It has to be something like that. It means like,
Yes.
yeah, but I'm
And
not
it's
sure.
yeah.
I'm not sure how I will trace it to like to.
You trace it by looking at how these models actually work and what they're actually doing, i.e., and the central thing to look at is what is the actual goal function? How do they define success?
Well, okay, yeah, I see. So you're saying it's tautological in a sense, but I'm just saying that maybe if you try to see what literature it uses, the integration is not trivial. It's as difficult as integration human mind makes, right? It's not just, oh, I copied the solution from here. No, it's like we learned some method, applied this method here in a new situation, and it worked. It could be as complicated as human thinking. Mm, mm, I don't know. In a sense, I just don't know how to continue the conversation in a sense that indeed, what could I say? It's true that the arguments are clear, but I don't know whether anyone will be convinced in a sense. It's like you could say you're AGI denialist, right? Say no, this is not possible. And but okay, so let me ask you this then. What's your prediction about the AI developments? And you could say AI will stop getting better, or what? Or we have to update the model, and if we update the model, what the new model should look like, which will be getting better. Or you could say it's really impossible until we figure out how to say the true essence of intelligence, the true loss function. There's no way you could make fundamental progress. Like what's your predictions and when AI is
Well, I
gonna
don't know what you mean by fundamental progress. Like in a way, we already have made fundamental progress. Like if by fundamental you mean big, right? Um, but no, yeah, okay. So I mean, my position is that we will not have an artificial general intelligence, you know, without understanding how intelligence works
Mhm. Okay,
in a lot of detail,
what is
like in a
like
detailed approach.
it's not, maybe it's not that difficult. What exactly you want? The biologists who study how human brain works. I mean, we know something. We know this. I watched a video about it. There is this columns which looks like approximately like LLMs, but they're also like talk to each other. And well, you could try to mimic that. I don't know. You saying is this very
No,
difficult?
it's yeah, I disagree that we're anywhere remotely close to figuring it out.
But why? I mean, how do we know?
Well, my question for you is why do you think we're close? I think the burden of proof is on you, right? Like, here's this extremely complicated system. I don't understand it. You're saying we're close to understanding it.
Well, yeah, we know what essentially brain is doing. It's
No, we don't. I don't think we do.
mm, well, let me think. In my view, it's something like this. We have this neurons which has connections between them, right? Which could
By the way,
transmit
let's
electric currents, right?
mark off here. Now we're going to the question of is AGI possible?
Yeah, wait, and was it
In
before? I never
particular,
understood.
you
She
think it
never
is.
understood
And not
the.
only do you think it is, you think it's, you know, we basically already understand how intelligence works. That seems to be what you're implying, right?
So yeah,
So,
I never understood the true distinction between AGI is eminent and whether it's even possible, right? It seems like one is a
well,
subset.
no, obviously there's a distinction, right? If it's imminent, that implies it's possible.
Yeah, exactly. So one is inside another, right? So,
Yes. And
but
I don't actually, so let me state my position up front. I don't actually think that it's possible, at least in the sense of Turing machines. Like I don't, which is what our current computers are, right? I don't think you can program a Turing machine in any way that would make it generally intelligent.
oh well, okay. That's more non-trivial. I don't know. This seems like a non-trivial theorem, right? And it for that we need to define intelligence more clearly, right? To prove something like this. Yeah. What I was trying to say is that with the brain, it seems like it's more like this network of neurons which is coupled to receptors, to sensors, which transmit signals into the neurons inside neural cortex, and also coupled to the hormonal system, which gives feedbacks about the state of our body, whether it's in pain, whether it's not in pain, whether it's, like happy or not
Okay,
happy.
but your explanation is vague and high level and hand wavy. That's not my and no, my argument's not a non-trivial theorem. My argument is based on two very simple observations. The first very simple observation is that we have free will. The second observation is that Turing machines act in a completely deterministic manner. You there's given their state at this time, it's determined what they're going to do at all future times.
Well, but free will could be just like emergent phenomena. So in a sense that, well, the universe could be fully deterministic in the sense that, well, yeah, the state at time t0 determines the state at time t0 plus delta t. So I mean, I don't see the problem of putting it into computer in a sense. I mean, actually, I know there's papers about it, whether it's possible for other reasons with the whole universe and so on. Like it's too much information and stuff. But with just a limited system, I think it like as small as human brain, in principle, with a big computer, I don't see like the fundamental problem. It's more like it's just really complicated network which takes information from a lot of sensors and then well, analyze it in some complicated way together with the memory inside these weights, which
Okay, but you're saying this thing and you're as if you can imagine it and or rather as if you actually have like an understanding of it, and I don't think you do.
no, I mean, I don't have
Anyway,
exact understanding, but I don't think there is any. I don't see it as a fundamental mystery. I don't see it as people actions being based on some mystical
well,
free
so
will. It's
so so I
always
think
based
I think our
on
fundamental disagreement. What did you say about mystical?
mystical
I
free
don't
will.
I don't
Like
think free will is mystical. Why do you think free will is mystical? I think
no,
free will is directly observable.
mm,
And these complicated theories of physics that you have are not directly observable. And indeed, they're justified by looking at things like, how like a ball behaves or like how the planets behave, and they're
right.
fine in such regimes, but we don't know exactly how far they extrapolate.
Well, but they hold for elementary particles, which
No,
are
they don't.
bodies made of.
They hold for isolated elementary particles in very specific situations like particle colliders or something, right? Like, I mean,
Well, but also for solid bodies, right? When we analyze crystals, it's based on our understanding of quantum field theory, right? So,
but there's lots of systems that we just don't understand. So you're
well,
basically
that's
saying, yeah, for the systems that we understand, i.e., that we're able to analyze in terms of this deterministic theory, those systems will, be deterministic. And okay, that's true, but it's
let's look
vacuum.
at the simplest example where we had start to have problems. Like we say, we understand crystals, solid crystals well, and then there is also example with amorphous bodies. They're not crystals, so we don't really have a good theory of them. We can't really make predictions how they behave and so on. But we know they're made out of the same atoms with the same electrons. So, well, the electromagnetic forces has to apply in a sense. And whenever we try to build a theory of amorphous body, it will be compatible with electrodynamics, right? Otherwise, it would be what? It will be indeed like, I don't know, I say kind of unimaginable violation of physics, right? It's like,
Well, but I
what
mean,
do you mean? Yeah.
well, you say it's unimaginable, and I mean, in a certain sense, it is hard to imagine because we don't have a good theory, right? But I mean, one other thing I can bring up, by the way, is I don't even actually agree that like Newtonian mechanics is deterministic.
Why? Is it because of some
Because,
Norton's
because
law counterexamples or what? Like this weird special cases?
well, yeah, but you don't even need to go that far. I mean, what do you mean by deterministic? You have to be able to say, um, within any desired degree of accuracy, I can predict what's going to happen up to that accuracy given some accuracy in the initial conditions. And I don't like your theory has to be accountable in that way. And I don't actually think that Newtonian physics is accountable.
Well, yeah, I mean, I see this as like a calculationable problems, right? Yeah, of course. For three bodies, that's all we can do it already, right?
Yeah, but
But no, that's all.
okay.
But three bodies are now
So
described by
so actually
Newton.
even in the simplest possible, where you have three things, it's not actually deterministic. So it's not free will that's mystical nonsense. It's your determinism that's mystical
No, but
nonsense.
we solve them
You're contradicting
numerically.
like directly observed evidence with some theory that you're extrapolating far beyond where you can validly extrapolate it to.
Yeah, we solve them numerically, and it seems like it works. I mean, of course, there is this phenomenon of chaos and so on. But yeah, I don't see like any reasons to think that electrodynamics just like if electrodynamics works for two particles and we see it works for three particles numerically, I don't see the reason to think that for four particles, five particles, or maybe million
Well, maybe
particles,
because you've
it
never
stops
actually
working.
solved an electrodynamics problem with six particles. Maybe that's a reason to think that, something might break down at some point. Like, you know, you can solve it in these really simple cases, but like, I mean,
Mm, I don't know why is not just
there's
an
there's also problems with
like
like,
how is it
you
better
talk about
than
initial conditions, but initial conditions is this sort of idealized abstraction. Like you're like, um, you're like assuming that like you can make the position arbitrarily small, you know, you're measuring its momentum at an instant in time, an instant in time is like, you know, an idealization, right? Like what, you know,
well
um,
actually yeah it's
and then
interesting
also
that
there's, problems of how does this thing communicate with the stuff over here? There's problems of locality.
there is a
Um,
quantum mechanic interpretation which kind of takes these arguments like literally in a sense that the pilot wave interpretation precisely tells you that initial positions are fundamentally hidden variables that you actually don't know them. And that's why we have probabilities in quantum mechanics. So it's like embraces this viewpoint in a certain extreme sense that actually you can't know the initial conditions, and that's where the probabilities come from. So yeah, but the dynamics is
Also,
if you know them, dynamics itself is deterministic in the pilot wave interpretation. Uh,
but also I want to bring up that like that determinism in your sense is a literal logical contradiction
why?
because you are saying that you know something. You're saying that you know that there's this, things are going to happen deterministically, right? And you can only, you know, you, like you can only know something if you went through the process required to know it. Okay. And some of the processes that people's minds go through do not result in knowledge, evasion or, parroting what other people say or, things like that. Some of them, like, genuine thinking and, criticizing yourself and, observing and reasoning through it do result in knowledge. And when you claim something as knowledge, you're claiming that you went through the process that leads to knowledge. And um, you have to know that you went through that process somehow. And the reason you know that that's the process you went through is because that's what you chose to go through.
Well, no, I mean not necessarily. It's not like this argument doesn't disprove determinism. Like in a sense, like imagine like literally the universe where we have a society of robots, right? Like let's say this my case is correct. With
A
robots,
society of what? Oh,
robots. So yeah, it's like they have
robots, as in their Turing machines.
let's say even you could say yeah. So they literally. they have sensors which provide data from real world. I mean, there is real world and so on, like a materialistic world, and there's robots. So and they gather data about the real worlds and they build it into memory and in a certain structure. They could be programmed to build this memory and act upon the memory in complicated algorithm, and they could like do experiments even in fully deterministic universe. It's not like it's their choice anymore, but it's what the algorithm tells them. It's like, oh, it seems like things are, yeah, I recorded those things are falling down, right? Then okay, I want to understand this phenomenon better because of my algorithm.
You can only talk about it if you're taking an outside perspective. Like if you truly are taking seriously the idea that you don't have any control over your choice to be rational, over your choice to be rational, then everything you're saying contradicts itself.
No, I mean I don't see how.
So
Like
what you're saying only works from the outside perspective.
no,
And
yeah,
the fact that you can
why is it
imagine it
bad?
is
Why is
not
it bad?
doesn't mean
It,
anything.
it
Why are
means
contradictions bad?
no,
And
I
you're
don't see
calling
any
me the mystic
contradiction.
for
No,
believing
I
in
don't
free
see
will?
any contradictions. Look, it say yes, this robot could imagine, could understand how the universe function, and could understand how he functions himself, and there is no problem here. It
But in
still
order, if what you're saying applies to reality, then you are one of the robots. And then
yes.
you believing that contradicts your other belief that you think you know about it.
No, it does not. I mean, in what
Yes,
sense?
it
Like
does. Because
why?
how could you know that? How could you know that you know? It's uh
Oh, well, there is a literally like say in robot's head there is this bits, quantum dots which record memory, right? And there's uh,
yeah. Well, how do you know it's not a false memory? How do you know he's not full of shit?
mm, no, but yeah, okay. I don't know what does it mean. Yeah, mm, yeah. I just don't see any contradictions with the fact that the robot living in a fully deterministic universe could imagine fully deterministic universe. Yeah, that there's no.
But the contradiction is that is that you are the robot, right? That's the contradiction. Like
No,
that
why? Why is it a
happens when you
contradiction?
apply your own logic to yourself.
Yes, okay. I applied my own logic to myself. So what's the problem?
Well, and you're saying that you knew something, but you didn't go through the logical, rather you don't know that you know it, right?
I don't know why. Why?
So you
I
don't
mean, it's like
actually know it.
how do we arrive at this
Contradiction.
conclusion? We studied the world. We studied all the data from our senses. We studied how our brain works, right?
What
Uh,
do you say you studied it? That implies that you know that it's true,
mm,
which you could only know that it's true if you made a certain choice.
Well, but let's say we consider a simple example. Like there is a robot following this algorithm, and there is a toy in the box. And well, we need to decide whether it's true that there is a toy in a box. And well, it could open a box, right? It's part of his algorithm to investigate his surrounding. And now he records information in his brain that oh, there is something in the box. That statement is true. Like what is the problem? Like it flips the bit there. It used to be like the statement I don't know what's inside the box flips to there is a toy inside the box, right? So
Because
that's how knowledge looks like in
truth
this
is
robot.
about actual correspondence to the fact. It's not just about whether a bit is zero or one or whatever, because you could equally imagine the robot, does something and makes a mistake and then the bit flips from zero to one.
Yes, yes, it can make a mistake. So what it's true. I mean,
Yeah,
it can be
but
wrong, and then they
but
could
if
discuss
if
with
he
other
claims it
robots.
is if he claims it is knowledge, he's claiming he knows that it corresponds to the facts.
well, he knows it up to his calculation, right? So, like, what the problem? It's true. It's other robot could say, "Oh, look, there is no toy in the box. You're actually wrong," and then they'll have to communicate and figure out further what happened. Is this my sensors wrong me? Oh, you have a problem with your sensor. Actually, like let's
No,
figure
but
out.
how does he know that he's not one of the robots who didn't go through the process required to know?
Mm, well, because he could understand how his body functions, right?
But you're saying, oh, because he understands something. But how does he know that he understands it and that he's not just someone who, how does he know that he went through the process to understand that, right?
Well, okay, but eventually you can reduce it to some sort of infinite skeptics argument, right? About like how that we know anything about reality if it's based on our senses, and then if our senses wrong us, we will not be able to tell, right? Like it's an
No,
argument
it,
which,
it's not a sort of weird radical like Cartesian skepticism or something. What I'm talking about is I'm pointing to the
why?
very real fact that sometimes people do irrational things and evade reality, and sometimes people do rational things and go through the steps that they need in order to actually understand reality. And in order to claim something as knowledge, you have to know that you went through you know, you have to know that you were rational.
Well, yeah, I just don't know. It's like you're saying that what some of those robots they're kind of dishonest, and when they're pointing out to the mistake and there's a explanation for what happened, they will what refuse, reject it. That something like that is possible. Mm, well, I just don't know. I'm not sure I'm not understanding this argument fully correctly. Um, like, mm, if there is a deeper like argument hardwired in this robot, to be logical, um, which is again part of how his code is written. When the mistake is revealed to him, he would switch his knowledge to update his knowledge to this new with this new information.
How do you know that he'll switch it? Maybe he's hardwired to not switch it.
Mm, no, but we could discover this the core of the algorithm as well, right? Uh, Yeah, I mean, I don't see any problem with, say, a robot which has a body, which has certain algorithms and this complicated um, artificial brain, developing the tools necessary to understand fully how his brain functions, and recording it in his own memory. um, it's possible. I don't see any problems. Like you could say, oh, what if it's all kind of again? I only feel like the only contradiction is indeed the counter argument is equivalent to the standard skeptic's argument, like in a sense that it's like
No,
the
because the
use is
standard skeptic argument is saying, what if you're radically wrong about everything? What if, you know, what if you're a brain in a vat or something? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, what if um, I'm pointing to the fact that people make bad choices and choose to be irrational, and I'm saying, how do you know you're not one of those people?
no. I mean, I don't know exactly, right? Because I haven't even understand my own brain
Well,
perfectly right now.
you are not one of those people because you chose to make, you know what things you chose. You know what sort of thought process you went to through to arrive at your conclusions.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I checked my algorithm to my best degree of knowledge possible right now, and
I
yeah.
disagree that it's an algorithm.
No, I mean, I don't know, whatever. Look, I think it's more like some sort of algorithm, right?
Okay, but you're baking your assumption into fine. Whatever. When you call it an algorithm, you're baking your assumption into what you're saying. But
I don't know how exactly. Well, it may be something more complicated, but I don't know how to imagine it. What does it mean that it's not an algorithm? Um, it's it's written inside my DNA in a sense. Well, let's say that that's where the information about the function of my body is encoded. Uh, it determines like how what type of brain I can have, in a sense, how my brain runs, right? Um, yeah. No, I don't know. Maybe there is just some sort of way to write this argument that you make in terms of some sort of formal logic, and then it'll become, clear whether it's, correct or whether it's
Well,
not.
yeah,
Because
okay. By the way,
I
this
say I just don't
with
see it. Like I just don't see whether I just don't understand. You could say I just don't understand the argument. That's what I'm saying. It seems like that's the problem, but um, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, is it even relevant? Why are we even talking about it? Yeah.
well, we were
Um,
talking about it because there's the question of is AGI possible? I say no, not in a Turing machine, because Turing machines act in a deterministic manner, and we
ah,
have
I see.
direct evidence that we have free will because we observe it in ourselves every day, every moment almost, and that's you know that's how I know. And then we got into I claimed that when you apply determinism to yourself, that there's some sort of logical contradiction there, and we got
Okay.
sidetracked.
Well, anyway, let's say it's definitely either way. It's definitely very difficult to build something like human brain in a computer. I would say, yeah, that's definitely true. Maybe it's impossible, yeah, fundamentally, if your argument is correct. But it's a bit strange. Like it has some sort of flavor of mysticism in a sense for me, because what does it mean? Okay, to have any other materials, not necessarily a computer. Uh, will you not be able to copy humans? Like, would you say
Yeah,
it's
I
impossible?
agree that if you made an exact like I think that we are material beings, and if you made an how whatever the human you know if you made an exact physical copy of the human brain, then it would be a human, and put it in a
Yes.
body and whatnot, then it would be a
Yeah, it
human.
will function
I,
like
I
human.
agree with that. I just don't but I don't think that it acts deterministic. And I do think it acts according to rules. Like it doesn't act like any way. I mean, there's limitations to what you can do with free will, but
Yeah, but just understand,
I
is
don't
it
think it's a Turing machine though. I think that's only capturing some of reality.
it seems like it violates some sort of basic causality, right? I mean, it acts. What does it mean to act according to free will? Like it has to be caused by something. You can't like, and this by its definition means there's
Ah,
no free will, right?
no,
It
no.
seems
So
like
you
it
have the
has to be
wrong view of
even.
causality. You think of causality as um like a pers one event leads to another event, leads to another event, leads to another event in like a chain. That's not how I think of causality. I think that the law of causality is that entities act in accordance with their nature. Now, for the nature of a lot of entities and a lot of situations, like their nature is such that they can only act one way in a given circumstance. For a human being, there's two ways you can act fundamentally. You can either in a given situation you can choose to focus or you can choose not to focus.
Mm, yeah, let's think whether it's possible. Okay. With anything in the universe. So what will determine this choice? For you could say that it means what for external observer at least. Uh, this is fundamentally random.
Because, well, yeah, we have to be careful what we mean by random, but
There is
if
nothing.
by random you mean unknowable, then
Yes.
yes.
Mm, so there is literally unknowable things in the universe, And for some reason, the human body is one one example of unknowable thing in the universe.
Well, okay. Let me be careful. Yeah, because I don't like how that sounds either. Let me think. Um,
And what about dog's body, right? It's like, I don't know, I always think about it like,
oh, but it's the idea that the future's open and you don't know the future. Like there's a lot about the future that you can know, right? But some of it is still open. Some of it depends on what choices we're going to make.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I was trying to imagine it some sort of like a particle, like say, like, like understand when you have like complex system, you could say, yeah, I can't know what it's going to do because it's so complex. But that's precisely my vision of what free will is. I can't know. It's an imaginary
The
phenomenon. I
term for
can't
your
know.
position, by the way, is compatibilism.
Yeah, but you're saying no, it's fundamental. It's like imagine the elementary particle, which is fundamentally random. It's like in quantum mechanics. That's why people even think sometimes that quantum
Yeah,
mechanics
but
is
I
something.
okay. So look, I actually don't completely agree with the random analogy because it's not random in the sense that you choose it, that I choose it, right? Like with myself, or you choose it with yourself, right? So random just when you think of a random particle, it's different than that. Like it's not choosing something, it just behaves in some way, right?
Well, yeah, that's why I was trying to start with something simple in a sense that for external observer, it's random, right? For you, it's like your choice, so it's kind of not random. But that's kind of, well, difficult to imagine. Yeah, like it's strange in a sense that yeah, if again you are just made out of particles which don't have this property, and somehow together they develop it. Uh, Again, it's a bit strange because again, look, what about the monkey's brain, the dog's brain, the turtle's brain or fish brain, right?
Mhm.
They're getting more and more primitive, and for worms, we could literally digitalize the brain.
By the
It's
way, I looked that up and we can't actually.
no, it's already faked.
No, it's not fake. It's just not a complete project. The people who are working on it don't claim to have completed it. They say that the guy says that they're 20% through or something. But
20%. Okay, but you're saying so
that's
this
what
is
he says. It's
so
called
your
open
prediction
worm.
that it's impossible even for worm.
I don't know. I don't know.
So I don't know, but the thing is, it seems like you claim that at some point there is a fundamental transition from knowable universe to unknowable, and that's transitions when free will.
I don't see it in those terms. I don't think it's knowable versus unknowable.
Okay,
Um,
but okay, I just know you use this term yourself. I didn't even know it, but before, but that well, it's like we don't know whether worms have free will or something like that. That's what you're trying to say.
I mean I highly doubt that they do.
So
But
there is a chance that worms most likely just robots, right? That they just have uh, well simple sensors coming into the little brain with 27 or how many neurons, and which have some weights, some memories, and this memories about where is light, where is dark, where is water, no water, and how I act, this depending on how sensors, the reading from my sensors. If there is water, go in the direction opposite to where it's more wet. If there is light, go either towards it or away from it, depending on some other memory about what you I want is it I want to eat or I don't want to eat right now, something like this. So that's probably how worms' brain work.
it's
My,
possible. I can also imagine something where it's like yeah, I mean I want to withhold judgment, but I do think that what you're describing is possible.
yeah, okay, just for me, it always seems natural that yeah, well, human brain is just a over like way more complicated version of the same thing, just where we have way more advanced memory. The whole neurocortex could stretch us way far in the past, and could develop this complicated concepts through
So
integrations and so on. But
here's the problem with, so I
yeah,
actually don't know. I can give a little bit more detail to my skepticism. So what you're describing is a computer program, effectively, right? Like if input sensor one reads X, do Y, et cetera,
yeah.
right? But it's not clear to me that that's how the physics that's relevant to even a worm actually works.
Ah, you mean there's no actual transistors in his brain? It's not. It's
Right.
more.
It's not a
Yeah,
discrete thing. And like
but there is a physical
actually
analogy.
predict the behavior of a real worm might be like really, really hard. Like it's like open, like even if open worm's successful, like maybe all that, like what they'd be doing is it's like they have like a sort of computer model that behaves in some respects like a worm. Like they wouldn't literally be predicting what an actual worm would do. Like it's open worm, even in the best case scenario, is not like doing something where it's like, yeah, you scan the worm, you measure the initial conditions, and then now you know what this worm is going to be doing, like, you know, 10 hours from now or something. Like I don't think that that's tractable.
Well,
And
you
it's
also
because
you,
it's not even tractable with planets. So
you also have to track the surrounding which affect his sensors. I mean, it's not like yeah,
yeah, yeah, no, that I know the worm and the surrounding, yeah, but
exactly.
I don't think you can actually measure that stuff in enough detail to make like a prediction more than like a few milliseconds or
Well,
something.
it will be difficult, but I think fundamentally, I think it could be possible in a sense that
Why? Why? What's your evidence? It's
like
not even possible with three planets.
if you have
You can go
yeah.
a long distance with three planets. I'll put it that way. But
So yeah, you're right that well, okay, yeah, maybe the calculation is difficult, but in a sense
but
that
actually, by the way, even with three planets, like it's not. I say you can go a long distance, but that's not even really true. Like there's an exponential accumulation of error.
yeah, so the same will be here. The same will be here. It's true, but it's
Yeah.
more
So
like
then, in what sense is it deterministic? Like that's sort of, or
well,
like,
but
what do you mean by deterministic? Because maybe the definition people usually give is like, oh yeah, given full knowledge about the initial conditions, you can predict what it's going to do for all time. But
yeah, okay,
if you look at it in
so
practice, you know, rather you'd have to be able to say, okay, state, given any level of precision that I want to know about the future state of this system, you tell me what level of precision I need to measure the initial conditions with. And
yeah, no. First of all, what have it in mind, right, is that well, the worms, each neuron is basically modeled by, I think, the condensator, like a circuit. There is a mechanical model for it, and
yeah,
that's
there's a model for it, and I was reading about it in the open worm thing.
yeah, 27 neurons, and then if we read
A
the
hundred
initial
neurons,
condition,
more
oh,
like a
100
hundred.
neuron.
Yeah.
Yeah, initial condition of a worm's brain and his surrounding, we could try to calculate what it's gonna do, right? And then, of course, because there is noise and dynamical chaos, it will deviate from it. Yeah, it's true that we will lose predictive power quickly. But what you said about the fact that we could build our digital worm and build its body and test whether it's gonna act on average like a real worm is still, I think, proves that we understand the worm well. If we, on average, see that, yeah, it still acts like an actual worm in all situations. And it's true that it will not exactly copy the behavior of this worm because of some random noise, little shifts, whether its body moved too much to the left before it stopped, or too little. And depending on this, some sensor reading also changed and, it drove it away from initial trajectory, right? So, but on average, we will see that we understand how worms work now. And in this sense, it wouldn't be that surprising to me because I looked at spider, or I had a spider who lived in my in a tank, right? And I think I could understand his behavior pretty much perfectly. I see what it does. Like I even see how, his algorithms glitch in a sense that because the tank was so small and he was taking soil to dig a hole, he was dropping the soil over the root, which I put there. But the soil was falling back down into his layer from the other side, and he was going back around, going back and dragging out the same soil and throwing it up again. But yet he's stuck in this situation where he wasn't able to figure out that the soil is falling back down in the layer which he's digging. Well, but yeah, there are things, there are just patterns which I think I learned what he's doing, like how he goes on a hunt, how he tried to migrate, explore the territory. He has a cycle for that. He has a cycle for digging and hunting, right? So
Yeah, but okay, so your patterns theory is still very far from like a complete from complete determinism, right? Like you can say to a large extent how he behaves, but if I told you like, where is he going to be at like 2:01 p.m., like where in the cage is he going to be? Like you couldn't answer that based on an observation of his behavior. And there's no indication that like, oh yeah, if you just observe more behavior and think about it, you'll be able to get to that level of precision. Like I don't think that's true. So yeah, you can understand certain things about his behavior. It's knowable, right? But but it's still not, or at least let's put it this way: in your best theory about it, it's still not determined by initial conditions.
well, yes, but it's not like I'm just saying. I still think that like this 170 or how many neurons and the algorithm is the correct description, which doesn't have any, how to say, unknowable parts, like fundamental unknowable parts where you know there is some sort of fundamental probability in it that I cannot know this even if I gather more data. That's what you kind of trying to say with free will. That it's not about lack of data. It's about it's fundamentally impossible, which is kind of different. Uh, so with worm, it seems like there is no fundamental barrier. It's just the amount of data.
Maybe since you wanted to keep this short, maybe now we should move on to the third thing.
Yes, I forgot what was the third thing.
Third
Yeah.
thing is, um, should we be worried about AGI?
Wait, hold on. That's why then I'm even more confused. So you say, "Oh, is it imminent? Is it possible?" And then should we worry? And you said like you said that your claim is you addressed the possible one, so the rest to follow. Or what? Or I just don't understand.
Wait, well, okay, that's not what I was gonna say. I mean, because I have more arguments, but that
Then
might be.
then I have to explain. Should we worry about what AGI, which is not possible, and
Well, okay, by the way, no, I mean, okay, it depends how you define AGI, but like I do think it's possible in the sense of like if artificial meaning man-made, like someone could make a machine that's intelligent. I just don't think it could be a Turing machine. But so that
okay.
okay, so yeah, I mean, in a sense, you can already guess that my answer is no to the should we be worried about it, but um at least in the near term, my answer would be no. But maybe I do think someone could make an artificial intelligence. I do think we are physical systems. Um, so so then the question is, should we be worried about this? And like supposing it was going to happen soon or something, should we be worried about it? Um, and my answer is still basically no. Um, because uh, so um when you say it's an intelligence, you're saying effectively that it behaves in a um well, okay, let me explain my view. Um so maybe like Yudkowsky's view or like Nick Bostrom's view is that like intelligence is just this spectrum, and that it's like, like an amoeba is here, a mouse is here, the village idiot is here, Einstein's here, but then the spectrum, like, it goes off to infinity potentially, maybe. Um,
Well, before the Einstein, I agree. It's kind of spectrum for me, but what happens after, I don't know. So I just view it
well,
like,
okay, so basically,
mm,
I think so. I don't think that that's really the structure that the space of minds has or whatever. Um, and mm,
well, I mean, there are certain phase transitions,
so
like
if
it's true, like
like so if
neurocortex.
if you look at computers, which is a um like if you look at the space of computing machines, it doesn't look anything like that. It's sort of you can make increasingly complicated computing machines which are like actually strictly more complicated than their predecessors. But then maybe you get to a certain point where you make a Turing machine, and then Turing machines are universal. Um, meaning any Turing machine can simulate any other Turing machine and therefore do any task that that other Turing machine can do. Um, so you don't no Turing machine is fundamentally more powerful than any other Turing machine.
Wait, and then you're saying it's possible, it's an actual physical thing which could be made, I just don't even know, or it's like a
Oh, well,
magical.
I mean, a Turing machine is an idealization, but
uh,
it's an accurate model of like a computer.
uh,
But the idea is
okay.
like my computer, maybe it's faster than yours or something, but like there's nothing that like your computer can do that mine can't do.
Okay. Yeah.
I
I
Because
see.
I can literally simulate your computer on my computer.
Hmm. Okay.
And
So,
and you can try to add like extra, like what it, like a Turing machine in the formal mathematical model, like it has one tape, like what if you add like a second tape or something? Like, does this make it more powerful? And no, like anything sort of realistic that you add to it, you just get something that's as powerful as a Turing machine. Like
well,
to get
okay.
something that's strictly more powerful, you have to do something like transcendental. Like you have to like allow it to like iterate over the real numbers or something like crazy like that.
Yeah, I see. So the argument is human brain in intelligence is something like a Turing machine in computers. Yeah, I
Yeah, or at
spoke
least it
about
could
that
be. And
too.
so the person I first heard this idea from was David Deutsch, and he used so just like there's the term universal computer, um, or universal Turing machine, he thinks that people might be or he thinks that people are universal explainers, um, in some sense. That like if there's, I mean, it's sort of vague necessarily, right? But his idea is that like if something's explicable, then um, then it's rather um, how would he put it? Uh, anything explicable can be explained by a human or something
Well,
like
yeah, I
that.
don't know this theory in details, but I thought about it a lot, and yeah, I agree. It's more like there is certain, like for me, like there's this study about the brain, and my friend Gorsky spent a lot of time on it. And it's like there is some network, and there is some critical phenomena, and the brain is this in critical state, and it's more like a theory of phase transition. So it's like in phase transitions we have this universality. So and this consciousness is like some universality class, and the human brain just one particular lattice kind of lattice achieving it. So yeah, and that could be the case. And LLM actually doesn't achieve it yet. And it could not be. It's totally different. It doesn't have these connections. There is no signals propagating through it with one with how do you say this? scaling law with correct scaling laws, scale invariant correlations, and so on, right? Which supposedly exist in the brain. Yeah, but it's true. And I thought about can we build a structure which will be like next level, transcendental compared to human brain? And I agree. It's like I
I,
can't
I, I
imagine.
can't I can't prove that we can't.
Yes,
Um,
and in certain
but
sense,
if such a thing is possible, then like intelligence is like not even the right concept for it. Like it's this very foreign thing. You just I mean guess you have to call it super intelligence or something. But like
yeah, right. And we don't even know how many stages are possible there. And it's interesting that, our brain, in a sense, if you think topologically, right, if it really evolved from a worm's brain, it's kind of in the connected component of the trivial brain, right? But, so,
okay.
but yeah, but now we theoretically could build some brain which is not a connected component of the trivial
No, but
brain.
it is because it has to be because we built it.
Well, but is it still a constraint? Like we could break over it. Like we could come up with.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's confusing. But the thing is, for that reasons, I don't even think about superintelligence like this. For me, kind of
But
just
like it yeah, I mean, okay, but you
it's
can't
just like,
there's not
imagine you.
much I can't rule out that this is like possible, but I don't have any like evidence for this or anything. Like we're just making it up. And the only actual like example we have of intelligence is people, and I think that this idea of universal explainer is actually true for people. Like I don't think I mean, setting aside like mentally handicapped people, I don't think that there's any explanation that like no, like only like Edward Witten's brain is capable of understanding this. Like that I just don't think that's how it works.
Well, it's true that some
Faster
brains
than
are
me or
just
whatever, but
better.
like it's not.
Mm, well, the genetics determines maybe how fast and how well you could build connections. It's actually interesting. I don't understand
Yeah,
it.
but you still have the same like theoretical power. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. No, but maybe some could be more defective.
And that's the same with Turing machines, right? Like Turing machines, yeah, you can have some Turing machines that are way faster than others. My 5-year-old MacBook is probably way faster than your like 20-year-old like Russian state-owned like ThinkPad knockoff or whatever you have.
No,
But
but
like
this is
they're still both
actually
Turing
S's
machines,
Zen
right?
book. Like this is this is the newest model.
Oh, okay.
So, well, yeah, but this is the old one I have right there. Yeah, okay, no, no, no. I thought about it a lot, and that's why for me, the working definition of superintelligence is actually just AGI in a sense that imagine we had
Yeah.
like a copy of a human brain, just now it could be infinitely big. I mean, we could wake
Well,
more
yeah,
neurons
so
and
your model for it is a human that thinks that, or maybe the simplest model for it would be like a human that thinks, but like 1 year for us is like 10,000 years for him or
yes,
something.
exactly. That's the model which I had. And I think that's kind of what Yurizer Yudkovsky also had in mind. It's not like he thinks about, oh, there's like
Yeah,
topological
actually,
and
there
trivial.
there are people who are. Well, I don't know about Yudkowsky. I don't know actually. Bostrom in his book suggests that he thinks otherwise, but I don't actually know for sure what Yudkowsky
Yeah,
thinks.
but that's like
Scott
even more
Aronson, who's
difficult.
another AI doomer who I talked to, by the way, Scott Aronson is sympathetic to this universal explainer idea, and he's still an AI doomer.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Because I'm
So
just
so then,
saying,
but okay. So then, my next point is so let's take for granted this universal explainer's view.
yes,
Should we be worried? Well, yes and no. Like other people can be really dangerous potentially, right?
yes,
Um, but there's two things to observe. Um, one is if I had 10,000 years just to think, I and you had like 1 year or whatever, like I would be able to make a lot more progress than you,
right.
but like it wouldn't be like it's not like I could achieve 10,000 times. Well, okay, rather let's put it this way. I can achieve a lot more than you, but then like there reaches a point where like everything I'm doing is like new. So it's like harder for me to make progress than it is for you to make. It's harder for me to make progress because I'm doing new things because no one else can catch up with me. So
You don't have to be
what I have to
alone.
do to make progress, what I have to do to make progress is like do new things. And what you have to do to make progress is just learn what I did, which is way easier, right?
Well, but it's not like imagine. First of all, you don't have to be alone. It could be many AI agents, right? It's fine. It could be the whole civilization of this
No,
AI.
okay, but then just make it 100,000 years or whatever. Like it's the same
Well,
argument.
is it true? Well, okay. Yeah, and what? I could not learn. Like, I certainly it's possible. I could not learn what humanity would discover in 100,000 years. I think it may be physically impossible for me to learn it. Like, it.
Okay, but no, but the thing is, like people like the more we learn, like the more simplified and conceptualized the knowledge
Yeah,
gets.
of
And
course. I understand. I understand. It's true, but
like
it's like
my
I could learn.
my advisor likes to say that a lot of all these modern math definitions that we have, um, like how it actually works if you've been around for a long time is like you see like there's some result and then eventually like the result actually just becomes like part of the definition. So like now it's just trivial. Um,
Yeah, I know. And the old
Stuff
definition,
like
but
that.
no, but the old definition becomes a property. So it's just reversed, right?
Well, but the point is things become simpler as you understand them better, and they actually become easier to explain.
Yeah, okay. So you're saying because it's universal explainer, it will be able to explain 100,000 years of progress to a human, because that's a part of the success.
So yeah, so this is one thing I wanted to say is basically all this argument is supposed to show is that like um you can bring other people up to your speed um by teaching them the things that you've learned. But the maybe another thing though is the idea of rights. Like
Yeah,
you don't actually have anything to gain by enslaving people. Like it's not actually like in your interest.
yeah. You
Um,
don't have to
because you
enslave
can
them
reason with
exactly,
them
but
instead,
we just
and you'll get
exterminate
more
them
out
by.
of them by reasoning with them than you will by forcing them.
Yeah, but
Um,
they took up space and resources, and they also like I just don't know, like they just take. Yeah, I mean, and they also potentially are violent, right? So, like, if
well, what do you mean potentially or violent?
well,
Other
they,
people are potentially violent, and I mean, I deal with the ones that are actually violent and don't, like defend myself against them and cooperate with the other ones.
yeah, okay. So that was what we already assumed that we passed the unfortunate doomsday version where the AI just doesn't have some sort of reasonable morality at all. We assume that it
But
learns
it's
something.
not okay. Wait, what do you mean reasonable? Oh, I see, I see.
The
Yeah,
first
yeah.
argument,
I'm
remember, was
assuming a sort of self-interested agent that, or rather, an agent capable of being self-interested and it's a human mind effectively, so it's capable of choosing its own values, and that's the type of thing I'm imagining.
yeah, okay, but
By the way, if I I mean, given my views about what I think artificial intelligence would have to look like, this is the only scenario that's possible. I don't think that this um paperclip machine thing is actually a possibility.
yeah, but that doesn't have to be paperclip. It could be just as a morality. It could be, it still could be
Well,
utilitarian or
okay,
something.
but no, but look, you choose your own morality. It's not, you choose your own values. It's not programmed into you. And you know, is it possible that an artificial intelligence could have bad values? Yeah, it is. Just like it's possible that a human could have bad values.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
that is the sense in which we need to be scared of them.
Yeah, but
But
okay. So how do you address that? I mean, is there any way
well, the
because it's
same.
way more powerful and at the same time it could have bad values.
Well, I think I don't I think um that evil is impotent. And I don't think that I think that bad values actually clash with reason. Um,
Well,
and
we could die
you know,
before this problem will
that's
reveal itself,
that's
right?
true, but you could also, there could also be like a, civilization of people with really bad values that you know, is a big threat to you too, like the Soviet, but that's nonetheless has a lot of intelligence, like the Soviet Union, for example.
Yeah, but
And
they're
I'm
weak.
not going to say that the Soviet Union wasn't dangerous. It was
Yeah, they're
extremely,
kind of weak. I mean, they were like to some degree dangerous, but well, wasn't strong
yeah,
enough.
uh, to some degree dangerous. And but then,
Like they were not 100,000 years ahead of us. Like, it's like uh, if they was, they would probably destroy America. They, uh, no, it's true that you probably could say that the good AI will probably will win over. Like I say, if really AI works at the speed, 100,000 times faster, the good AI will win over fast. Like that's maybe the
yeah, like okay, you're right.
um,
If there was one bad AI and no other AIs, and the bad AI was like 100,000, thought 100,000 times faster than we do or something, yeah, it could be really bad. Um, but yeah, I don't think um like there could also be a good one, and then the good one's actually going to be more powerful because he's using reason more. Um,
mm, okay. So well, so you basically the
and
core of the
we
argument
can also teach AIs things we know and stuff like that. But
Well, exactly. But what's it going to teach them? Most likely, right at this moment, they're not going to teach AI anything really meaningful. Like, I mean, they hire philosophers from Harvard, right?
yeah, okay,
Like
well,
it's
okay,
meaningful
yeah, but
questions.
this is so far in the okay, this is so far in the future for me that
Yeah, it's like I hope the AI
I'm
gonna die out first. Like the AI has to die out before.
like honestly, I expect like Iran's gonna get like a nuclear bomb or something, and like start World War III, and we're gonna go to like a new Dark Ages or something, and then like that's just probably then a meteor's gonna make us extinct. Like
Yeah,
unfortunately,
well, it's true. I mean, the
that's what
Dark
I'm
Age.
worried about, not this scenario. I was talking very hypothetically.
Yeah, the Dark Age scenario is more likely than utopia or something, dystopia. Yeah, but it's true that society is probably going to collapse way before we reach success with AI. That's kind of what I'm thinking about too. But now we're analyzing the opposite version that no, we actually are able to kind of, jumpstart this process, jump over this hill of, almost collapsing into Dark Ages. But, AI kind of maybe will drag us out.
Getting
But
to at the bottom of the hill with like a pointing a sword up at you or something.
well, yeah, so something like this, some barbarians. Yeah, that's right. So okay, so that's uh, the key part of the argument, and the ends argument you saying you address by the fact that well, the super intelligent AI, if it access human brain, it's actually not that better than human brain, so it actually will be interested in cooperation with humans rather than just destroying them and taking up the space.
Well, I think so, but to know for sure that it wouldn't be better than a human brain, you'd have to know something about how it's being built, right? And well, if you look at the current things we're doing, they're not capable of producing an actual intelligence. Maybe in the distant future we'll be doing something where if you look at what we're actually building, you'll say, yeah, that'll produce an intelligence if we're successful. Or
Yes,
maybe it'll be
but
some crazy thing that is capable of producing a super intelligence, and then we'll have to make all these new concepts to be able to talk about that. Um, so, it's very speculative.
no, I agree, but it's kind of part of the Elizier's argument that he's saying that, well, you don't actually know anything about how it will play out. So it's reasonable just to not do it. And actually, to be honest, I don't know what exactly his policy prescription is. Like it
Oh,
seems like
he wants
uh,
I mean he wants what's the term for it? Global compute governance.
And what it does, you mean like what it
Like a
gonna
one world government that enforces,
what?
regulation on anyone trying to train an AI model.
Enforces what
I shouldn't say a
regulation?
one world government. I should say an international police agency that by force heavily restricts people the freedom of people working on AI models. That's what he wants. That's what he pushes for.
But it's like
He even
it,
wrote a Time article, like maybe like half facetiously, half seriously, saying something like we should bomb the AI data centers or something.
yeah, exactly. What I'm trying to say that his point is that no matter like how you regulate, you could not outsmart the super intelligence. Like it's like it seems like if you want to be fully consistent, he should say that we should not have AI research, right? That's it's like how
Yeah,
people say it's about so some
I,
viruses. Like why
that's like basically his position. Yeah,
it's yeah, it's similar to like dangerous viruses research. Some people say we should not research that. Why
yeah,
trying to
and a
produce
lot of
deadly virus?
environmentalists say
We
similar things. A lot of environmentalists say, we shouldn't do um insert X here because we don't know, maybe it could have some sort of
ah
permanent
climate change.
ecological damage or something. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, somewhat mimics the climate change argument to some
Yes.
degree in a sense that,
It's
oh, we don't know, so let's just not better not do.
the underlying principle is called the precautionary principle,
Mm,
saying the principle is like, oh, we don't know for a fact that this is safe. We don't have any evidence that it's dangerous, but we don't, you know, we can imagine a way in which it could be dangerous. Therefore, we're justified in using force to restrict it. And I don't think this is a good principle. I think it's very dangerous.
yeah, but you see how it kind of, I would say, was outgrown out of this, pretty reasonable. Like I say, if we start thinking about preemptive punishment or say preventive measures, right, like say if you build a nuclear reactor, oh no, you have to make sure it's safe. It's not like after it blew up you have to pay the reparations to everybody. So most people say no, 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 we have to say that you cannot build it in a certain way which could be objectively dangerous, right? And
Yeah,
that's
but that's wrong. What you should do is, like, there has to be some evidence that the person might be doing something dangerous with it. But like
yes, so you couldn't just say
they're
that.
innocent, and unless there's some evidence that what they're doing could pose a risk.
But how small this evidence should be? You could say
Well,
nuclear
you
reactor
have
always
different
could
you have
blow
different
up.
standards depending on, how invasive you want to be. Maybe in order to justify a preliminary investigation, maybe you only need a little bit of evidence, but then, in order to like totally, you know, totally like put this guy's life to a halt or something, you need like overwhelming evidence, like, in a court, according to,
According to
very
what?
clear laws, right?
Yeah, but where does the laws come from? The leftist people would say, we think this is dangerous, full stop. We have enough evidence. We can say one deadly virus and we're gonna all die. Or
No, no, but what they're saying effectively is like we don't have time to be objective.
but it's not
It's
even
too
about
dangerous. We don't have time for actual evidence. We just have to do stuff. That's effectively what advocates of the precautionary principle are saying.
it's about time. I don't think it's about time because with viruses there are examples with which when we accidentally produced extremely deadly virus, right? And it escaped in the lab and people just keep it there. They don't release it. But we also have situations where some viruses got accidentally released. Luckily, they were not very deadly. So combined these two situations, we could say that well, there is a real possibility always that a really deadly virus will be produced and will be released accidentally.
No, but in order to go to Bob's lab and shut Bob's lab down by force, you have to have some evidence that Bob is posing a danger to other people. The fact that some labs are run poorly or whatever is not sufficient evidence to go ruin Bob's life.
Okay, so it's kind of you're saying it's easier than AI because we have objective standards of what safe lab is, and it's kind of reasonable. And with AI, I guess
But
you're just saying that
with
we
AI,
don't.
the whole thing is contentious, and I don't
What's contentious?
rather like which things are a threat, right? And I don't think Eliezer's arguments are good enough. I don't think they're true. And that's why I don't think that you can go shut down an AI lab. I think you'd be violating the rights of the people doing it because I don't think you can actually make any sort of objective case that these people are posing physical harm to anyone.
Yeah, well, mm, okay, that probably it is fair. At least right now there is no evidence for enough evidence to say yeah, it's dangerous. And he's usually bringing up some cases where some people got mentally ill because of it, but it's not really doomsday
Yeah, and
level
also when
events.
people
Yeah,
get
but
mentally ill, like that stuff is like within the realm of their choice, right?
yes,
Or
yes.
at least the choice, at the very least, it's within the realm of the choice of their caretakers or
Yeah,
whatever.
the third actors getting hurt, I don't think that happened. Yeah. Well, I would agree. It's kind of unfair. It's like indeed similar to making argument against nuclear energy, against virus research. Yeah. Yeah, and also what I noticed about these arguments, in a sense, despite the fact that they're, not explicitly altruistic, right? They really, in a sense, start from, hurting third parties. In a sense, there is still kind of they mimic this grand altruistic argument in a sense that,
I
like
heard you say that at the beginning of the video. Could you explain that actually? Yeah, go ahead.
no, but I meant different thing. I'm just saying that the all arguments about communism usually work like this that if everybody is altruistic, then look, communism would work. And usually when we start moving toward this direction, the people who are not altruistic, they're the one who abuse the system and they become more successful, and that leads to this kind of cronyism and all these ugly situations, and then these people are getting all the blame from the altruist that's saying, well, they are the
Yeah,
problem.
it's a yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, and the saying like, as soon as we eliminate all of them, then the problem goes away. And here
Yes.
with AI, it's kind of similar in a sense that, oh, let's just say, if nobody does this, then everything will be perfect. But in practice, I predict kind of the same scenario that, well, you're gonna shoot yourself in the leg. It's like, okay, this person not gonna do it, this person not gonna do it, but then China or or Iran, they will do it, right? They're not going to listen to your arguments. Like just like with altruism, at some point, some jihadists will just come in and kill you, right? If everybody embrace altruism, right, in the Western civilization, the jihadists will just kill everybody, right? Because they were going to follow your argument. So same kind of happens here. That well, it's just like you will not get AI. Someone else will make it, uh, who's not on board with your argument because he doesn't have to. Like there is no because precisely he didn't give real evidence, right? So it's just like a choice. It's like you can be worried, you cannot, you can be not worried, right? So similar was happening with the pandemic. It's like, oh, if everybody goes on lockdown, then the virus dies out, and then they try to force it. And then precisely because, well, not everybody was convinced in the first place, and people act within their own will, it all went, well, havoc, right? It just was a terrible situation where they didn't eliminate the virus, but also produced tons of bad outcomes for everybody. So it seems like the same will be here. It's like they're trying to uh, shoot Western civilization in the leg, just like environmentalists, and try to give it to China and Iran, right? So it's effectively that's what kind of it's gonna work. Like it's that's what I'm saying. It kind of mimics the same, like altruistic causes, despite the fact it's kind of presented as, as a externality problem.
Well, yeah, the only disagreement I have is that we're not actually giving it to China and Iran because China and Iran are pathetic, and they'll just it's not like they're gonna
No, but
make
that is the
innovations.
point
I mean,
that
like with nuclear power, like China has actually not built that much because they've just been copying these reactor designs that from the US from like the 70s or something, because they're too afraid to make their own or something. And
I heard they recently built a non-nuclear thermonuclear bomb.
what does that mean?
No, it's a thermonuclear bomb without a nuclear, how to say, detonator.
Wait, so like it uses conventional explosives to start a fusion reaction?
Yes. So
That's
why?
wild.
Well, yeah, I don't know why. I mean, it was on Indian news, so I don't know whether it's true. I mean, I don't know. So, uh, but I mean, I don't know why you discount them that much. But that's precisely my point. That
Okay,
I'm
no, I
saying that
shouldn't cut that part out of the video.
that
Well, okay, no, I
well, the jihadists are pathetic, but precisely like they're weak, but they're the one who will not listen
China's
to
less
altruistic.
pathetic, but like it's more pathetic than you think, I think. But
Well, okay, but I'm just saying that at some point, if you get all, smart people on board with this, the weak people, like jihadists, will actually take over. Like that's like it's true that Western civilization would be strong without leftists, right? But if leftists convince everybody in the altruism, that's when even weak and stupid jihadists could actually kill everybody, right? Uh, so that's what I'm saying. That yeah, of course, elitarian course will not be able to convince everybody, and that's why AI still will be produced in US somewhere. But if he will be, then even China
well,
and
no, I don't think as Eliezer Yudkowsky will ever convince everybody, but I think that he will, unfortunately, maybe this video will help or something, probably not, but I think he'll convince a lot of smart people who will convince a lot of people who sort of inform the opinions of like less intellectual people, and then there will be a big political push to clamp down on AI, and then we'll have like a significantly crippled industry because of it. That's what I think is gonna
yeah,
happen. I
that's
don't
what
I don't think that that's one thing is gonna be enough to like you know become like the Islamic Republic of USA or something. Like it's going to take a lot more than a single like
yes, of course.
regulating yet another industry.
No, I'm
But
I'm saying this is my
it's
point.
sad though because this is a technology that's already led to a huge increase in production, and you know it could lead to more, but we probably won't let it.
It's just like I'm trying to say what will happen if we actually apply his argument fully consistently. That's what I'm saying. That no, that's what like the same with altruism in general. Like it's not like our civilization already died. It's just we have Medicare, Medicaid, we have healthcare industry already destroyed, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
and then we
it's
have
not,
like most of our economy is just like fake bullshit.
yeah, it's not that jihadists
That's the
already
worst
killed.
effect of it, actually.
But my point is that the altruists saying that oh, if as soon as we make it complete, we just have utopia. But actually, no. Before you got to utopia, jihadists will just come in and kill. That's I'm trying to say. That's the point. And
Okay,
same
and
with
that's what happened to the Roman Empire.
yeah, exactly, and that's what happens to empire. So with AI, I agree. It's like the tech industry was the last one, which is kind of the locomotive of American economy. It was still kind of relatively unregulated, and now it's we might take a hit. And by the way, yeah, in GD Vance's speech, right, he was also talking about the um, tech industry, and he was trying to make like a bad example out of it, saying that well, screen addictions and so on. So there is a chance that it will be the last to fall, but if it falls, I don't even know what will be left out of America. Like what will be if the finance industry is already a joke after 2008, and the healthcare industry was destroyed. Well, was being destroyed for 100 years, for 100 years, right? So uh, I don't know indeed.
Well, it's complicated. I mean, for example, like the aerospace industry and the defense tech industry have actually become more open in the past couple decades than they were in like the, from like the, from the 60s to like 2000 or something. They
Yeah,
were
but I mean,
closed than they are now.
we probably
But
should discuss it separately because there is a lot of things broken
yeah,
about it too.
maybe here's a good place to end the video.
The governmental contractors and how dysfunctional it is, yeah. And there are reasons for it too. Yeah, but you're right. I think in for AI we could sum it up, yeah. So we talked about two Elizabeth arguments, yeah. But I don't know whether people will find this line of reasoning completely convincing, and whether we'll be able to finish the video. But okay, it's their choice. Well, I like this discussion. I hope everybody who's listening also enjoyed it, and thank you. Well, I hope you like my guest Liam. See you next time. Yeah.